All right. Hi, parents and kiddos. Welcome in. How are we doing today? Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, you can type in one in the chat. One in the chat. Hi. Hi, Rain. Awesome, awesome. Welcome in, everybody. And today we're going to look at how we can understand your child's math performance through the iReady report. So for today, our focus is on the iReady report. And we're gonna get started for now. So get started for now. I'm gonna start the recording and let's get started. So first of all, I want to introduce a little bit about myself. Hi everyone, I'm Emmy Yan and I'm the sync lead of middle school prep. And I graduated in University of Pennsylvania with a master's degree in learning science and technologies. And I got 8 years of academic experience in the United States education systems. And currently I'm also teaching grade 1 and grade 2. So sometimes I could be a little bit hyper when I get to some stuff. So that could be normal. All right. So before we get started, what is iReady? Let's see. So if you have heard of iReady or if your kids have taken iReady text before, you can type one in the chat. And if you're not that familiar with the report or iReady, you can type in two. Let's see. Ooh, Zach, you have taken iReady. Grayson taken iReady. All right. And some of you are not that familiar with the text, right? But it's okay. We're gonna look at it together. Okay, we're gonna look at it together. So first of all, iReady is a standardized academic assessment across the United States. So basically, it's gonna be very popular among the USA, among the American states, and it is an adaptive diagnostic assessment. And what does the word mean? Adaptive means, for example, if you are a kid in grade 5 taking the grade 5 iReady Textman, you will also see some questions in grade 6. And if you do some questions wrong, you're gonna also see some questions in grade 4. So the better you do, the harder the exam will get. And if you try to take the exam, there's no time limit. But basically, depending on how you do, it's gonna be 40 to 60 minutes. And since it is very adaptive, the system is very smart, so that will be able to so the system already will be able to provide you with a very detailed learning report based on your kids' performance in these exams. So talking a little bit about the population who's using iReady, it's used by over 10 million students across 50 states in the America. And if we just focus on California specifically, it's going to be over 1.5 million students across the more than over 600 districts in the California. I've done a lot. So a lot of people is using iReady. A lot of school is using iReady as their standard um, estimation or exam for assess the kids' learning. All right, and so some of you may heard of iReady, some of you may not be that familiar, but we all see a lot of reports in our real life, right? So in your school, your kid's gonna take iReady, or it could be MAP, it could be STAR, or at least it's gonna be a state test, right? So for the state test, you're gonna receive your report card, but no matter what test is it, there are gonna be three things that you're gonna focus on. So once you understand the three core data points, you will be able to know everything that you want to know about your kids. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what are those three data points in iReady report itself. So first of all, the three data points are first, learning pace, second, national ranking, and three, domain performance. So what does these three data points mean? First of all, for learning pace, that is what grade level is my kid actually performing at? So basically, it could be if you are kids in grade 5 and you take the grade 5 test, according to the result, it could be below the grade 5 or it could be above the grade 5 level. So that is about their learning pace. And then the national ranking is going to show you a percentile that tells you how does your kid rank against their peers national-wide. So basically, your kid is at the top, how many percentage? All right, and then number 3 is about the domain performance. So what does that mean? That means what exactly are the strengths or weakness of your kids after taking the test and do the problems, right? So this time, here I provide you with my report, so teacher Emmy's report. And as you can see here, when you receive this iReady report, it's gonna have a lot of things going on here. But we only need to focus on three things. The first thing is the learning pace right there in the middle. And I also got the national ranking at the bottom left corner and the domain performance at the top right corner. So this time we're gonna look at each one of them. But before that, I'm gonna talk a little bit about why fifth grade iReady is a very important stuff to focus on. So basically, it has two reasons. The first reason is we're gonna get the placement, right? So this is gonna be the first big sorting your kids gonna have in their whole math learning journey. So most middle schools offer differentiated math tracks starting in sixth grade, and that means your fifth grade iReady result is gonna be the primary factor in this initial placement. And what does that mean? That means your iReady report for fifth grade is going to determine if your child's going to start middle school on the regular or the accelerated track. And let's talk about the second reason. So the second reason is on how math is going to be so different when you get to sixth grade. So from fifth grade to sixth grade, there's going to be a big shift from arithmetic to algebraic thinking. And what does that mean? So for arithmetic, it's just like number operations, multiplying fractions. And then for algebraic thinking, you're gonna try to solve functions. So the missing number, the unknown numbers. So it's gonna be a big gap between those two part of knowledge. And that means the math gap between the students is gonna widen dramatically here in those two grade levels. And that's why iReady report is gonna be an early warning for you to see if your child is prepared for the advanced math and if your child is prepared to get into a accelerated track in your middle school. So my conclusion here would be the fifth grade is your last best chance to close the gaps before the middle school, before you get to middle school. Right. And let's take a closer look at one example here. This is from the Pleasanton Unified School District in California. So here in this picture, it shows the math pathways for kids from grade 5 all the way to grade 12. So as we can see here, starting from grade 5, your kid's gonna have the first placement test when they enter grade 5. So they will we're gonna have a differentiated track here when they start their grade 6. So for the first placements, you're gonna know whether your kid's gonna go to the regular track or if your kid is gonna go to the double accelerated track here. And then this is not the only placement you're gonna do. For the Pleasanton district, if you reach grade 6, then you're gonna take one more placement test. This time it's only for determining whether your kid's gonna go on a regular track or if they're gonna go on a single accelerated track. So 1 year ahead. All right, and we're gonna learn up till grade 9. So we're gonna have another placement. This time we have more tracks available here, but I wanna have your attention shift to the 12th grade here. So as we can see here, if we follow the regular track, will we be able to take any AP courses? Everybody, if you know the answer, you can type it in the chat. How many AP you will finish if you follow the regular track? Let's see. Oh, no, right? So it's gonna be 0. So you're not gonna take AP courses if you follow the regular track. That sounds a little bit scary, right? So let's take a look. So if you are 1 year ahead or if you are 2 years ahead, you're gonna have some AP courses. So the key to AP success is you're gonna need to finish your Algebra 2 by the end of grade 10. And after you do that, you will be able to secure some spots because for AP, especially AP STEM courses, it's going to be very competitive when you are selecting the course, right? So to make sure that you get the course that you want and make sure you get as more as AP courses, AP scores you want, you're going to need to finish your Algebra 2 by grade 10. And moving forward, that means if you can get in on the track, if you can get in on the right track in grade 6, it's going to make your entire journey a lot smoother. All right. So this side, it sounds a little bit scary. So we're going to look at 2 examples on how our alumni do. the thoughts, hearing the thoughts from our alumni. So the first person I want you to meet is Ava. Ava right now is in the University of Chicago. And when she was the fifth grader, she entered the double accelerated track in grade six. That means she's taken a pre-algebra in grade six, then algebra in grade seven, and then geometry in grade eight. So well, according to Ava said, I was able to take so many AP classes in high school partially because of math acceleration that I had gone through in middle school. I could get the prerequisites over with, and I could get those basic things done. And according to Ava, you can see that with this accelerated program, she will be able to finish many AP courses, right? She'll be able to finish AP courses, a lot of AP courses, and get those prerequisites down. So get those basic stuff down. So she can then to God getting more sound courses and do other stuff. So according to Ava, as you can see here, after Ava made this choice to be a little bit accelerated, she actually felt very grateful to make that decision, right? So I will say that for accelerated math track, it's actually the gift that keeps on giving. It's gonna be very beneficial when you look back. And here I got another example. And this time I want you to meet my friend Sabrina. So Sabrina is right now in UC Berkeley. And when she was a little kid, she was taking Algebra 2 in grade 9. So basically that means that Sabrina was on the track that is 2 years ahead than the average. So that would be also double accelerated track. And she was taking AP Calculus AB in grade 10 and AP Calculus BC in grade 11. And according to Sabrina said, getting ahead in math in middle school saves you a lot of more time and energy in high school. I would really recommend having that head start as early as possible in math because it is important to establish a strong foundation and not rush things at the last minute. More and more kids at my school are doing Algebra 2 as 8th graders and finish off Calculus BC in junior year. All right, so as we can see here, both kids, both Sabrina and Ava, they're pretty satisfied with this track, right? Even though learning math in advance it could be a scary stuff, but when they're looking back, they're actually enjoying the process. They're actually enjoying the process, and as we can see here, top students are constantly accelerating. So let me be clear here. What does that mean? That means maybe simply following the standard pace, following the regular track may not be enough for your kids. All right, so let's take a closer look at the acceleration process, the differentiated tracking process. So what's going to happen is usually for a normal school here, most of the school have three tracks, three different types of tracks. One is the regular, one is a single accelerated, and one is the double accelerated. And I also have the information about the population here for each track. So for the regular track, it's going to have about 85% of all the students. And then for single accelerated, it's going to be 10%, for double accelerated, 5%. So as you can see here, only those top 15% can get to the accelerated track. So let's look more specifically into those three levels. So for the regular track, 85%, they're going to master the 5 grades content in grade 5, 6 grade content in grade 6, and then all the way 7 and 8, all the way down there. And then for the single accelerated, what's going to happen? So actually, they're going to learn most of the Common Core stuff about grade 6 when they reach grade 5, okay? So what does that mean? They're going to know almost at least half the stuff about fraction, multiplication, fraction, division, and a little bit about ratio. So when we talk about single accelerated or double accelerated, the kids are not actually skipping any math content. It's not like skipping from one level ahead. It's like they are learning ahead of the content that will be covered in a later period for the regular course. All right, so after we finish grade 5 and grade 6 content, we're gonna learn about grade 7 and grade 7 grade 6 and grade 7 content in grade 6, and then pre-algebra in grade 7, algebra 1 in grade 8. And let's take a closer look at the double accelerated program. So for a double accelerated program, it's going to be more scary, right? So the kids in the double accelerated program need to finish their sixth grade content when they are only in grade 5. That way they can actually learning about grade 7 and grade 8's content in their sixth grade, and then taking algebra 1 in their grade 7 and geometry in their grade 8. So the time is a little bit different, but the kids are not skipping any of the content. They're just learning ahead. They're just learning earlier. All right, so that means by the end of the 5th grade, students on different tracks are already 1 or 2 years apart in their math progress. And that means the real race actually begins now in 5th grade. All right. And here, I want to shift your focus on this one number here, number 85. So this 85, we're going to talk a lot of time for this webinar, for this webinar, for this presentation. So we're gonna have our 85 as our magic number. But what is 85 the magic number? So this time I'm gonna talk about the 85th percentile. So first of all, I got a table up there. So this table shows you once you get into the regular class, the single accelerated or the double accelerated, how many AP courses you're gonna finish in high school. All right. So for example, we see here for a regular track, you're gonna finish how many APs at the end by the end of high school? It's gonna be 2 courses, right? And then for the single accelerated program, it's gonna be 4 AP courses by the end. And then for the double accelerated, you will get 6 AP courses. So that is like a national average. And according to our survey, 85% of the students gonna be on the regular track. So if you're gonna get those more AP courses in the future, you're gonna be the top 15. All right, and here I also got another example, another data from the San Diego district. So here's the recommendation for their accelerated mathematics programs. So as we see here, what is our metric? What is our criteria? So if we want to get you the accelerated courses, you're gonna first take the iReady test. So for San Diego district, iReady is the norm. And you're gonna take the test, and only if you reach 85th percentile or higher will you be able to pass the test and get you the accelerated courses or accelerated track. But this is not enough. This is only part of the consideration. You need to first have your iReady result that is 85 percentile or higher, and then you also need like other good stuff to prove that you are able to you have the ability to be in the accelerated track. 85 percentile on your iReady report is only in the basics. All right, and I do got one more information, one more data here. So now this data shows you the percentage of all the high school students complete their AP calculus by the grade of 11 and by the grade of 12. So some parents, you may wonder, why are we looking at AP calculus, right? So for AP calculus, it's actually a very higher level courses that what their kids are learning. It's actually like a university level of courses. So this way, if we think back from the university, from the higher level courses, for those students who finish their AP calculus before grade 1, it's going to be 6.5%. And it's also equivalent to, if you finish it before grade 11, that means you're going to be 2 years ahead when you are in middle school. So if you remember the number we use for 2 years ahead for the double accelerated program, it's going to be 5%, right? And this time, why this number is 6.5%? Because it also takes into account, like after your kids get to grade 11, they're gonna learn some APs, and by the end of the school year, there should be 6.5% of them finishing all the AP texts by the end of the school year. So the number will be a little bit higher than number 5. And same thing happened here. If you finish your AP calculus before grade 12, that means you're gonna be 1 year ahead of in the middle school. And the number we got is actually 13.5. So this one is a little bit higher than 10% because we will have the kids joining in the grade and then they take AP courses. So by the end of the 12th grade, we will be able to reach that 13.5. So this time when we have those two numbers, 6.5%, 13.4%, and if we add them up together, we're gonna do addition here. It's add up approximately to 20. So that means only about 20% of all the high school students gonna finish their AP calculus by grade 12. All right, so that's not a big number, right? So that's why we think. Therefore, an 85th percentile is the entry ticket into the accelerated track. So if you want to get to the accelerated track, that means you're going to reach this 85th percentile. 85th is my magic number here. All right, so one more time. If parents, you're thinking for your kids to get to the accelerated math track, what is our goal? Our goal is to reach the 85th percentile. And that sounds pretty scary, right? That sounds pretty scary. But don't need to worry about it for now, because your kids is gonna reach this 85th percent by the end of the grade 5. So it's not right now, it's by the end of the grade 5. So this time we're gonna take a closer look actually into our iReady report. So you're gonna pretend that Teacher Emmy is gonna be your kid, and after I take the iReady test in the school or in Sync Academy, you parents, you're gonna receive this report that just look like this. So on your report, once again, you're gonna see those 3 main data points. First is the learning pace. Second is your national ranking. Third is your domain performance. And this time we're gonna focus on the national ranking and the learning pace first to figure out how those numbers or pictures or data connect. All right. So talking about the national norm first, we've talked about 85th percentile a lot of time, right? But where would you find the 85th percentile? Well, how do I know how many percentile am I? So this time you're gonna go to your report and look at the left corner and find the national norm. So for example, if Emmy got this report, if this is all I do, I'll actually reach a national norm that is about 78th percentile. And what does this 78th percentile mean? Let's take a closer look. So that means I scored higher than 78% of all the 5th graders who took this test across the entire country. All right, so it's like competing with all the other 5th graders, people at the same age. And what does it feel like to have the number 78? So basically, it's gonna be 1/4 of all the students. So it's gonna be a quarter of all the students for the number 78 only. All right. And this time we're gonna look at what does 78 percentile mean on your learning progress. So basically, if you look at this picture, this progress chart, it looks quite busy with all the lines going on, right? There's a lot of lines here. I got the dotted lines, straight line there, black line, green line, and the blue line here. So a lot of things going on. But basically, the progress chart is built on 4 lines in particular. So the first line, we called it the stretch. The second line, we called it the typical. The third line, we called it the mid on grade level. The fourth line, we called it the test score. The name doesn't mean anything, right? So we're gonna talk about what does those line mean. So here I got some keywords for you. So this time, we're gonna look at those 4 lines starting from the test score. So which one is the test score? The blue one at the bottom. All right, so that means if Emmy, I took the test at the beginning of the semester, I'm having a score here. So it's not, it's about 440, below 500. So it's about like 480 or something, 480 something. So that is my test score. And that is only my current score. So after I took this test at the beginning of the semester, my current score is at the blue line. And this time, once you finish this iReady test, what you're gonna get is iReady will provide you with a prediction. And what does the prediction mean? So this time, I want you to focus on the number 2, the typical line here. So the typical line, the black line here, that means the expectation. What does the expectation mean? That means if I continue to do what I do currently, I'm gonna reach this typical line by the end of the school year. So if you remember, we can take the test 3 times. At the beginning of the school year, in the middle of the school year, at the end of the school year. And that means my current scores are here. And by the end of the grade 5, when I took the test 1 more time by the end of the grade year, I'm gonna reach this line. So that is the prediction. That is the expectation that iReady gives me if I follow what I'm doing right now. All right, and above this typical, we also have a line that we call stretch. So I put down the keyword here, potential. Everybody, you can guess what does that mean, okay? I'm gonna wait for 3 seconds and then I'm gonna tell you the answer. So this one typical tells you what is our expectation. What is our expectation? So you're gonna reach this level by the end of grade 5. But if you work harder, if you practice more problems, if you do harder, then you can reach this potential. So this line here. If you practice harder, maybe you will get more than 501. You will get 512. So this time, this is more like an ambitious but attainable goal for you. And it's still predicted by the iReady. All right, so we already talked about the tech score. We already talked about our typical and the stretch. These are the predictions. Now we're going to focus on our goal. So if you remember, what is my magic number? What is my magic number? Everybody can type it in the chat if you remember. What is my magic number? I need to reach how many percentile? 50? Ooh, good job. 85, right? I see a lot of good answers here. So we need to reach 50. We need to reach 86 percentile. That is our goal. And we're gonna assess how well we do compared to the goal based on the benchmark first, okay? So we're gonna look at the benchmark first. All right, so what does this benchmark mean? Mid on grade level. Mid on grade level means the expected score for a typical 5th graders by the end of the school year. All right, so this time, this expectation is a little bit different from the expectation we see for typical because this expectation is for all the typical 5th grader. And this typical line expectation is for yourself. So depending on how you perform in the first test, your base score is going to give you the prediction for the typical. So one is for all the kids, and the typical is for only for your kids. All right, so this one, you see the difference here between what I have this slide and the one previous is here. I only take the first text, right? So I take the first text at the start of the semester. And this time, if you do take the text 3 times, so that will be one text for the beginning of the semester, one in the middle, and one in by the end of the semester, you're gonna receive a report that looks like this. So this report gonna have all the test scores for all those 3 times you took the test. So as we can see here, after I take this first test, I was in this line. I'm not quite mid in the middle, right? Because the benchmark is here. The green line is here. I'm not getting the benchmark. But should I be too worried about it? As you can see here, the typical is actually above the midline. So that means if I continue what I'm doing right here, I will be able to meet the expectation that is above the benchmark, that is about the mid on grade level. So that should be okay. And let's take a look. For the first score I got, I actually got how many percentile? It's actually 79 percentile. So that is an okay number, a good number, right? A good number is almost 50, 85, but I still gotta practice more. I still gotta work harder in order to get 85 percentile. So that is okay. But in the middle and by the end of the school year, when I take this test one more time, did I meet my expectation? Did I reach my typical line? No, not really, right? So this time, even though you see my score improve from the middle to the end of the semester, I got increasing score, but I'm not actually improving a lot because I didn't reach my typical. I didn't reach my expectation. So this time you will see, even though you got a higher score, you're actually at the 66 percentile. So actually, you're not even improving, but you are actually a little bit slower compared to the national level. All right, so this time, if you look at the percentile, you can determine how your kids are doing. But if you just got that report, you're not sure, like, what does a score mean, right? But so for example, if your school only gives you a score, how would you determine the percentile? So this time you're going to look at this graph. So this graph is about the iReady National Standard Scoring Scale. So this scale will tell you basically what is a percentile. You can use the scale to calculate the percentile of your kid. So basically, if we focus on grade 5, you will see for this particular grade, for your kids, if you're at the grade 5, taking grade 5, it's gonna provide you with a range of the score. It's gonna be a score range. And why do we need a score range? Why do we need a score range? So if you remember, we can take the test 3 times, right? Take the test 3 times. So that will be 1 time at the beginning of the semester, 1 time in the middle of the semester, and 1 time at the end of the semester. So that's why we got those 3 score range in the scoring scale. So let's think about it. So for example, teacher, I'm gonna be the grade 5 kids. Okay, I'm gonna take this grade 5 iReady test. And what if I score, let's say, 480. Let's just focus on 480. So if I score 480 in my first test at the beginning of the semester, is it not that good? Well, it's not that serious, okay? It's not much of a concerning part because I'm only starting the grade 5. So for all those grade 5 materials, for all the grade 5 questions, I should not be able to do it, right? Because I haven't learned about it. So when I just enter grade 5 and taking the first text, it's very common to have a lower score. But if I still got 480 by the end of the school year, by the end of grade 5, is that a good thing? No, right? So this time that means maybe I'm only in the grade 4 level. The grade 5 courses, the grade 5 contents that the teacher taught me, I will not be able to understand. So this time the most important thing is not about the score for those 3 texts. So it's not about the score, then what is it about? It's about if you are falling in that score range. All right. So this time, after we know this, I'm gonna go back to accelerated math track. Everybody, am I ready for accelerated math track? Am I ready for the accelerated math track? So even though if I do met the expectation, if I do attend a typical bar, I'm gonna be about the mid level, right? About the middle of the grade. But am I ready for the accelerated math track? Remember what is our magic number? It's gonna be 80 fips, right? 80 fips. So these percentile are still a little bit lower, a little bit low in order to get that goal. So basically, what we need to do, if you want to enter the accelerated math track, this clear path shows you how many percentile you need to reach. So this time for single accelerated, it's going to be 85th percentile. That means you're going to be the national top 15 among all the 5th graders. And then if you're looking for the double accelerated track, that means you're going to need a percentile that is as high as 95th percentile. That means you're going to be the top 5 of all the populations, all the 5th graders. So an 85th percentile is actually the key to get on the accelerated track. So now let's look at what is the timeline, okay? So we're going to do a little bit countdown to the placement test to talk about our strategic timeline. All right, so we're going to start backward. So in order to get to the accelerated track and start learning grade 6 and grade 7 content, that means if I move forward to the March, the third, by the end of the school year, I got another test, right? So the third test I'm gonna take, I need to reach 95th percentile in order to get to the double accelerated track. And that means I'm gonna need to hit 85th percent a little bit earlier when I took the test, maybe during the middle of the school year, right? So in the middle, I will need to hit that 85th percent in order to get the 95th percent by the end of the school year. And let's move forward a little bit. That means starting in September, the first text, I need to start preparing to get that 85% percentile, right? So that means for September to December, our goal is to targeting at the 85th percentile so that we can targeting at 95 percentile when we finish our middle test. So actually, if you look at this countdown, if you look at this timeline, you actually need to starting it right now. So starting it now, targeting at the 85th percentile is gonna be our goal. All right. So after we talk about the timeline and our goal, this time we're gonna talk about how do we improve my iReady score. So we're gonna propose the idea that your kid's gonna hit 90 percentile in 3 months. Let's look at what does it look like. So this time we already talked about the learning pace, the national ranking, and we're gonna move on to the domain performance. Remember, the domain performance tells you the weakness and the strength of the kids, how they do in the test. So basically, the report is gonna cover 4 core math domains. One is the number operation, algebra, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. So those 4 math domains. And if you can see, so as you can see here on my slide, here I provide you the domain weight in the Common Core. So according to Common Core for grade 5, you can see in the test, most of the test questions is based on the number and operation, right? The majority of the questions is related to numbers and operation. So that means calculation is gonna be the basic and the most important part we're gonna focus on. So for example, here, why calculation is the non-negotiable foundation? Let's take a look at a specific question here. For example, for this geometry question, what is the volume of the rectangular prism? So once you know, I'm gonna do the multiplication, right? I'm gonna multiply all the fractions together. Oh, but the fractions look pretty much very complex, right? So this time you see a lot of mixed numbers, and then you figure out the numerator. It's a lot of work. So if you don't know how to calculate, you're not able to get the answer. And same thing happened here. We know a bag of apples weighs 4.25 pounds. How many ounces does the bag of apples weigh? So this time we're going to do some unit conversion. But even though the formula is very simple, if you cannot do multiplication of decimals, can you figure out the answer? No. So calculation skills is going to be tested in every domain. So if you have weakness in this, that means you're going to get a lower percentile for sure. Calculation is very important. And one more example about the importance of calculation is calculation is going to determines the floor of your score. So what does this floor mean? That means the worst scenario, the worst scores you can get. So what does that look like? So if you remember, this is going to be, iReady is going to be an adaptive test. And for example, here you can see from my table here, if I do the first question correct and do the second question wrong, and I continue to do wrong, so all the grade 5 questions, I cannot do it. And this time the system gonna say, all right, maybe I need to give this kid, maybe I need to give Emmy a easier question that we talk about in grade 4. So some problems in grade 4. And what they're gonna do before they send me the question for grade 4 is a question like this. Let's take a look. So this question, there's like no reading needed, right? It's a pure calculation. It's a pure calculation about the decimals. Or you will see something like this. Still, pure calculations, right? Multiplying the fractions. So this time, the system's gonna ask you the final questions. Can the kid still calculate? And what's gonna happen? If you cannot do the calculation, I'm gonna receive the grade 4 questions. All right, so the system gonna say, all right, Emmy, you're just grade 4. But what does it look like? So what does it mean? So in the US Common Core curriculum, number skills process actually in a slow but spiral manner. Using the fraction calculations as a sample, the mastery requirements for each grade are, for grade 3, understanding the meanings of fractions, identifying equivalent fractions, and adding and subtracting like denominators. And then for grade 4, it's going to be understanding mixed numbers, improper fractions, adding, subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. And if you're in grade 5, it's going to be performing all 4 operations with fractions, plus, minus, multiplication, and division. And then for grade 6, it's going to be performing calculations with negative fractions. So everything is going to be a little bit more difficult once you get to a higher grade. So if a student is unable to solve grade 5 level calculation problems, for example, add, minus, multiplication, division of the decimal or fraction, then the system gonna determine that the student is performing below the grade 6 level. It's gonna be a scary stuff if you cannot do your calculation correct. All right, and then other than calculation, another big, not like problem, another big characteristic of the test is we're gonna see a lot of word problems. So a lot of questions like this one is gonna require your kids to have a strong reading and critical thinking skills. So students must learn to decode the test, identify the right operation, and then execute the calculation flawlessly. So what does that mean? That means most errors happen before the first number is read. The kids are not able to read the questions. It's so long, right? And after you understand the question, you're gonna also understand the logic in the answer. So if you can not figure out the logic they have in the answer, it's still gonna be a little bit harder for the kids. So it's actually like a reading for some of the questions. So if I read the questions aren't that hard in general, Why do students keep getting them wrong? So here at Think Academy, we believe there are two big major causes. So the first is the careless. The kid's gonna be careless when they do the calculation. So they're gonna have a calculation mistakes. And number two, they cannot solve the word problems. They're not able to pick out the key information given in the questions, given in the long questions. All right. So root cause number one, carelessness. So in grade 5, we learned about fraction, decimal, grade 6, negative rational numbers, grade 7, exponents and root. And when you still get the calculation wrong, that means, it's going to be a habit problem. Or maybe because your lack of practice. So this time you're going to form a better habit when you calculate the numbers. Like for example, here you're going to do a lot of notes when you do the calculations. And maybe practice makes perfect, right? Practice more calculations. So what's one solution we'll get? To show your work, right? But when you show your work, there is a lot of traps that you're gonna fall into. For example, I got this complex question here. So we're gonna start from multiplying the common denominator. And when we do this, something might happen. We're gonna forget about the parentheses. Some kids might forget about the parentheses. And when we remove the parentheses, we're gonna forget about to change the signs, right? The minus sign, we're gonna change it, the minus signs. And then after we got this, we're gonna move the numbers to the right side. So when we move to the other side, some kids might forget about changing the signs, right? Plus is the plus, but minus becomes the plus as well. All right, plus to minus, minus to plus. And what else? What else? When we combining the like terms together, a lot of kids gonna repeating adding the numbers together or omitting some numbers. Forget about some numbers. And lastly, when we get to our final step, after you figure out the answer, when you do the simplification, when you simplify a fraction, we're gonna missing the positive of negative sign once again. But as you can see here, even though you show your way, there's still gonna be a lot of trap that you're gonna fall into when you do the questions. All right, it looks a little bit scary. So what should we need to do? What should we do? We're gonna take care of our notes, right? We're gonna make our notes very clear so we can double check our steps during the test. Form good habits. And what we believe is we want to make the practice very addictive to the kids. So we will provide you guys, in the Think Academy class, we have a lot of interactive questions. And for every homework submission, we also got point rewards. And the teachers can be very encouraged in this as well. So you can see here, we got a lot of positive in reinforcement from the teacher as well when the kids do good. All right. So this time we're gonna talk about the word problems as well. So for the word problems, it's gonna be lack of patience to read the problems carefully and extract the key information. But sometimes also, maybe your kids only practice the calculation without the context. So without actually reading or understanding what the question is asking, they're just simply doing multiplication or division. And both ways gonna lead to wrong answers on an actual word problems. So one solution here is to actually focus on teacher-led modeling during the class. So in our classroom, teacher is going to provide you with step-by-step breakdown, which is the I do, we do, and then you do in a classroom, typical classroom in America. And we also got a lot of in-class practice together with the homework reinforcement. So a lot of practice going on with the teachers and without the teachers, or with the parents. All right, so this gets to our acceleration. So what is my grade 5 and grade 6 math acceleration path? We're gonna start at the bottom of the pyramid, okay? Start at the bottom. We're gonna work on calculation. Calculation is a majority part in this exam. So focus on the calculation means we're gonna build the calculation speed and accuracy and try to hit the top 15%. Try to hit the 85th percentile. And then after finish calculation, we're gonna go ahead and work on word problems. So we're gonna master the word problem strategies and try to hit that top 10. And after we hit the calculation and the word problem, we're gonna do some mock tests and get a head start on algebra. So this is like more advanced to help your kids accelerate and makes their life easier when they get to grade 6, grade 7, when they learn about algebra. So this target is for students who are aiming to hit that top 5%. All right, so what does that look like in those semesters? That means for the fall semester, we're gonna focus on two things: stronger the base. Second, close the gaps. So identify where I need to improve. Is it number? Is it geometry? And then for the spring semester, we're gonna focus on accelerating. So taking the mock tests, getting all the gap down, getting all the questions down, then learning ahead, learning about algebra to get accelerate. All right, so those are the acceleration tests and what we offer exclusively for our long-term program students. So if you're in grade 5, so parents, if your kids are right now taking our courses in grade 5, honor challenge or grade 6 pre-algebra, you're gonna have this exclusive offer, okay? So what is this exclusive offer? Access, practice, and learn. So for assess is we're gonna provide you with official iReady assessments to track your child's math progress in real time. And for practice, that means we're gonna provide you with some practice book. So this practice book, as you can see here, is gonna be aligned very closely to our Common Core and tailored to the test results for their targeted improvements. And in this math book, in this practice book we provided you, you will see this is the Common Core standard listed here, followed by the iReady style questions. And we also provide you with some similar practice related to that Common Core points, Common Core content. And after that, you're still gonna build sort of like a team where you're gonna work with your teachers, working together to create and execute a customized learning plans for your kids. Those are something we're gonna provide to our long-term program students. And just one more thing, if you are the long-term program students, or if you're not the long-term program students for now, this is gonna be your to-do list, okay? So I have the timing, the target, and the to-dos here. So that means for the September, what we're gonna focus on. We're gonna first take the iReady test, and then with the report, with the result, we're gonna set the clear learning goals. And then when we get to October, we're gonna strengthen our calculation and the word problem skills. So basically, you're gonna after you know what is my weakness, we're gonna try to practice, right? We're gonna practice calculation, practice word problem, and then in the November, we're gonna try to practice statistics, geometry, and algebra. So that is the learning ahead. The more it's advanced knowledge, the acceleration. And then when we get to December to January, we're gonna retake the iReady test and then plan for the real spring placement exam that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen in the fall. So that means what is going to do? First of all, in September, I'm gonna take the test, official iReady test. It's already included for all the grade 5 core plus and honors courses, as well as grade 6 pre-algebra long-term courses students. So if you can double check on your email, we already sent it out. I think it's yesterday. So you will get the email information with your account number, and you can just feel free to take the test if you have time. And but if you don't want to take the test, that's okay. So if you have existing standardized test report from the school, that works too. You can just send the report to us, to the content teacher, to teacher Amy. That all works. And then for October, you're gonna download the practice board for calculation and word problems. Keep practicing, start practicing. And then for November, you're gonna download the practice board for statistics, geometry, and algebra. So that is the acceleration. And then for December and January, you're gonna take this test one more time to measure your growth and skill mastery and get some customized learning plans for the spring school placement. And here I also provide everybody with a a la carte option. So you can also get the one iReady test for only $99. So that is only the September promo. So we were able to get the account from the official iReady test, and by far it should be the only available options in the marketing at this price. All right. And I also provide everybody with this solution. So here we're gonna introduce you a new course. So that'll be a grade 5 Math Foundation and Advancement class. So this is gonna be a pretty tiny course, very packed course designed only for this placement test, or if you're looking for strengthen your foundation and do a little bit of advancement. So it's gonna include 3 live courses in total. Each live course is gonna be 1.5 hours. And then we will include a digital textbook that you can print it out if you want. And we will provide you with one iReady official test and 3-week homework practice. So that will be counting to 120 practice questions in total. So let's talk a little bit about what's gonna cover. So all the 3 live courses, you're gonna see 22 Common Core grade 5 core topics. And it's gonna include 60 iReady style questions together with 120 practice questions in total. And what is the course outline? So lesson 1, we're gonna talk about place value, decimal, word problems. And then lesson 2, we're gonna talk about factors, multiples, fractions, and word problems as well. And then when we get to lesson 3, we're gonna talk about volume calculation, quadrilateral classification, and coordination systems. And we designed a course for those students. So if you're looking for strengthening grade 5 calculation word problem skills, or if you want to increase the practice volume and develop effective problem solving habits, or if your goal is to reach the national top 10%, then the course is for you. So right now the price is listed here, $69. And the class actually starts next week. So if you want to enroll it, you can scan the QR code. So I'm going to pause here a little bit so you can take a screenshot or something. So that will be the new course that we introduced. And if you have any questions, feel free to just email me. I'll also have my email information here. All right. So now I'm going to get to my Q&A session. That will be basically everything I want to cover for the webinar, for the iReady session. So thank you everybody for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat. Or you can send me emails, or you can reach out to your content teacher. So thank you guys. I'm gonna start looking at the chat. Do students who are already enrolled in grade 5 honors need to take this class? Oh, so the class is not the same as the service we provided exclusively. So if we go back to here, so what we provided to grade 5 honors or core plus course is we're gonna provide you with one free iReady test, and then the complimentary progress planning with the practice book. But if you want to take the class, you're still gonna pay for it. Yeah. So it's two different stuff. Where can you take a practice iReady test? That's a good question, Kelly. So this time, if you can check your email, if it's not in your email, just let me know, okay? So if you can check your email, if you are the current students, we already sent out the email with all the information, your account, your username, your password, and you can just feel free to take it. Actually, you can take it right now. So once you have those information, just go to the website, have those information put in. Yeah. Where can you take the practice test? I already answered it. What about the challenge level? So for the challenge level, it's not gonna be a service provided for free. So for the challenge level or all the other level, like the ACE level, you do have this a la carte option. So that would be $20 for the test itself. And if you're looking for the class, it's gonna be 70. And Leslie is asking, do you have any short-term classes for fourth grade? So right now we're just focusing on this particular timeline when the kids are gonna have their first placement test from from elementary to middle. So right now we don't have short-term classes for fourth grade particular, but if you are current students in Think Academy, then you should be already learning some grade 5 materials. So we can also send along the practice problems to you, and you can try to like assess your kids on how they're doing. And actually, for the iReady test itself, it's not designed for only fifth grader or sixth grader. It's designed for all the kids at different grade levels. So that's why we see there's like a lot of grades and score here. And I suppose it should be grade 8, so it's not enough state, so I only got grade 7 here. But it's gonna be all the kids from grade K all the way to grade 8. So if you're in fourth grade, I still recommend you to take this iReady test, see how they do in grade 4. And maybe they already reached the 85th percentile. That means your kids are doing a great job there. Let's see what else. Yeah, so grade 5 challenge courses can also receive the workbook. However, the diagonal, the test itself is gonna cost you some money. When was the email about the iReady test sent? So it's gonna be, I suppose it should be yesterday, but if you didn't receive it, you can you can note down my email here or just let your content teacher know. We're gonna reach out to you shortly after. Well, they send an email to give the digital workbook. So for the digital workbook, you're gonna reach out to the content teacher or reach out to teacher Emmy. So it's not, I suppose it's not sent anonymously email. We are in grade 4. Can we take grade 5 test this December? Thank you, Jason, for the question. So if you're in grade 4, that means when you take the test, you're gonna take so usually it's gonna be 3 times, right? At the beginning of the school year, middle of the school year, end of the school year, and this is the time. September is the time for the beginning of the school year. So whether you're in grade 4, grade 5, grade 6, I do recommend you to try to take the test and assess how your kids are doing right now, depending on their progress, whether they're above the grade level, below the grade level, or checking their percentile. Yeah, so the iReady is based on your actual grade level because it's adaptive. So grade 4, you can still take the test. All right, so I already signed up for the 3 classes. Is the a la carte iReady test the same as the 3 classes free test? So what's gonna happen here? If you sign up for the 3 courses, that means you're gonna get the 3 courses, the digital textbook, our homework digital book, and then one iReady official test. So that is different than the a la carte option. So for the a la carte option, the $20 stuff is only for one iReady official test. So once you take the test, we will give you the account that we buy from the official iReady department. So you will take the test and we will provide you with the reported feedback, with the feedback report. How to sign up for the test? Talk to Dennis or there is a link. So you can check your email. If you didn't get your email, just let us know. So you should have all the information there. But if you're not in grade 5 honor core plus or grade 6 pre-algebra courses, you will not be able to get that email. So you will have to reach out to us. You can scan the QR code for course or let us know if you're interested in the a la carte. Let's see if I got more questions. You guys got some awesome questions here. Yeah, I also see Grace, you guys are taking STAR, right? In Chicago, we take STAR 330 instead of for the upper grade. How do I start the 330 test from iReady test? So as you can see here at the beginning of my slide, so we have iReady, we have MAC, we have the state test, we have the STAR test. So all the different kinds of report, but they all show you something. That is how well your kids doing, how well your kids is performing at their current level. So you'll be still able to find those 3 important stuff here. So if you got the STAR report, you can also send it to us and we will provide you with the detailed analysis. In the New York, does that work? Yes, it does. You can still take the iReady because it reflects the national percentile. Some schools in New York already are using iReady right now. Let's see if I miss anything. So we're almost reaching the end of the conversation. I appreciate all the questions we have here. And I mean, this is a big topic, right? iReady report. And for some of you, it could be the first time you're hearing this. So it's good that you guys have those questions. So this time I will direct all the questions. If you have any, you can let me know or let your content teacher know. So I'm gonna pull up this slide one more time. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to reach out to your content teacher. And that will be the end of our webinar for today. So thank you so much for listening. Bye. Bye, parents. Bye, kids. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day, everybody.